Chicago, 1980. Inside the Cook County Criminal Courts building over at 26th and California, something was seriously wrong. Cases were just disappearing, thrown out for no apparent reason. Guilty men were walking scot-free, while victims had to watch the very people who hurt them walk right out the front door. And the worst part? Nobody was talking. Well, nobody except for this one young prosecutor named Terrence Hake. Now, Hake had just graduated from Loyola Law School 3 years earlier. He actually believed in the system. He'd taken an oath to protect it. But what he was seeing every single day told him the system didn't care about the rules, or him. So, he had a choice. Keep his mouth shut, save his career, and pretend everything was fine. Or do something absolutely unprecedented. He chose to act, and it would cost him nearly 4 years of his life.
You have to understand, Terrence Hake wasn't some seasoned federal agent. He had zero undercover training, no protective detail, no backup plan if things hit the fan. He was just a junior prosecutor, young, idealistic, working one of the most thankless jobs in the entire legal system. His office handled thousands of cases a year, everything from traffic tickets and drug charges to assault and murder. For most people walking through those doors, that building was their absolute last shot at fairness. Hake took that seriously. But right from the start, the math wasn't adding up. He was losing cases he should have won by a mile, open and shut cases with rock-solid evidence. And the judges were making rulings that, quite frankly, made no legal sense. Hake later admitted that he never actually saw cash changing hands, but he knew. The losses were just too consistent, too clean. Then, a specific case came along that changed everything. It involved a school janitor, a teenage girl with special needs, and a horrific sexual assault charge. But the judge threw it out. No legal basis, no explanation that made any sense at all. Hake walked out of that courtroom and reality hit him. The case was fixed. Someone paid and a predator walked. That was the exact moment Terrence Hake decided he was done staying quiet.
What Hake stumbled into wasn't just one bad apple, it was a whole ecosystem of corruption. Lawyers were actually paying off court clerks just to get the names of defendants who didn't have attorneys yet. They'd swoop in, take the case, and then turn around and bribe the judge to guarantee a win. The clerks took their cut, and the judges pocketed the rest. Money was changing hands through jail cell bars, at racetracks, in back hallways, or just left in envelopes on desks. The price list? A few $100 to get a DUI dismissed. A little more for a drug case. For sexual assault or murder, the price went way up. It got so bad the judges couldn't even keep track. Get this, one judge, Wayne Olson, was later caught on an FBI wiretape completely forgetting whether a bribe he'd taken was meant to convict a guy or let him go. He'd taken so many payoffs he literally couldn't remember. This wasn't a rare occurrence. This was a parallel justice system running right alongside the real one every single day inside one of the busiest courthouses in the country. And the people paying the price were the ones who couldn't afford to play the game. If you had money or knew the right guy, you got the outcome you wanted. But if you were just a regular person hoping for a fair shake, you lost the second you sat down. When Hake finally took his concerns to the Justice Department, they believed him instantly. Why? Because they already knew. Cook County had been famous for years for mob ties and bribery, but nobody could ever prove it. Nobody was willing to go inside. So Hake agreed to do something that had never been done in American history. He went undercover inside his own courthouse, posing as a corrupt prosecutor. He started taking bribes. He made payoffs.
He wore a hidden wire into bars and racetracks. He sat across from judges and colleagues he worked with every day, people who genuinely trusted him, and recorded every single word. He did this for 3.5 years, with no training and no exit strategy if he got caught. And remember, some of these corrupt lawyers were tied directly to the mob. If his cover blew, it wasn't just his career on the line, it was his life. The personal toll started right away. His reputation was ruined. Everyone in the building now thought he was dirty. That was the cover, sure, but he had to live with that shame every day.
Then it got worse. He found out a close friend of his was taking bribes, someone he liked. And now that friend was caught in the very trap Hake was helping to build. But Hake kept going. The FBI made history too, planting the first ever bug inside a judge's private chambers in US history. They wired Judge Olson's narcotics courtroom and caught everything in real time. Then, in August of 1983, the whole thing cracked open ahead of schedule. The FBI approached a corrupt clerk and a police officer to get them to cooperate. One of them panicked, and the story leaked to the press. The undercover operation was dead. But what the FBI already had over nearly 4 years was unprecedented. Thousands of recordings, wiretaps, bugged rooms, and even staged court cases designed purely to catch judges in the act. Then came the indictments. 92 public officials were charged, 17 judges, 48 lawyers, 10 deputy sheriffs, 8 cops, 8 court officials, even a state legislator. 3 of the accused couldn't handle it and committed suicide before their trials. Judge Richard Lefevre got 12 years for fixing traffic cases, and Judge Thomas Maloney, convicted in '94, got 16 years for fixing 3 separate murder trials for over $100 grand. Think about that. He sold the outcomes of murder trials. The court battles dragged on for 10 years. By the time it was all over, Terrence Hake had testified against 23 of his former colleagues. And by then, he was officially an FBI agent. The system Terrence Hake walked into back in 1977 was rotten to the core. Not just in one courtroom, but all the way through the hallways, the clerks' desks, and the judges' chambers. The very concept of justice had been compromised. And he was just one guy, untrained, unprotected, watching people he cared about go down because of evidence he gathered. He carried that weight alone for 4 years. But the real question isn't about the judges who got caught. It's about everyone else. What about all the cases fixed before Hake spoke up? What about the innocent people locked away because they couldn't pay? What about the victims who never got closure and never knew why? Operation Greylord cleaned up Cook County, but you have to wonder, how many other courthouses in how many other cities never had a Terrence Hake walk through the door? If this case made your blood boil, hit that subscribe button. We drop new cases every single week. Next time on DeadDocket.